What's up everybody, Matt Moran here for a little video on the 2018 Mustang. So just this past week, we got the official horsepower and torque numbers and all the details. The build and pricing site is up and the official pricing for everything for the Mustang, for the 2018 Mustangs. So we'll start with the good news first because it's a mixed bag here and I'm going to kind of break down all the reasons as to why here. First, awesome news. 460 horsepower, 420 pound-feet of torque from that really heavily reworked 5-liter V8 engine that I think actually has slightly larger displacement, but it's not enough to bump it up to 5.1, but it's really a lot different. And it also, the big main thing is it has both port injection and direct injection. So that's really important because the Camaro and a lot of the other European cars have only direct injection, and that's been known to cause a lot of coking up of the valves and things like that. So this is important because, you know, with the port injection, it cleans off all that stuff so that it doesn't get gunked up and you don't have to do walnut blasting every 50,000 miles or whatever. And so it cleans all that stuff out, which is really important. So it should be a very durable, long-lasting engine that doesn't need additional maintenance outside of the normal stuff. So that's really cool. And the really impressive thing was they had a little promo video of all the things you can do in less than 4 seconds. And one of the things is the 2018 Mustang GT can do 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. They didn't say exactly what under 4 seconds. Could be 3.99, 3.9, I don't know. But anyway, it's less than 4 seconds. And they say that they claim that time with the 10-speed automatic transmission, the performance package, Magna-Ride dampers, and the drag mode activated. There's a new drag mode that is one of the in the track apps there, and that's only if you have all those different options. You can then set off for the fastest launch possible and get that 4 second or under 4 seconds 0 to 60 time. So that's pretty impressive, and my hat's off to them. Another cool enhancement here for the GTs and for all the Mustangs actually is they all now have 355 gears as standard on the manual transmission. That's what I have in my GT, and the previous GT I had also 355s. Really, I think makes it a lot more fun than the standard 315s that you get in prior year GTs, and it's still not as aggressive as the 373s you get in the performance package. So really nice blend of both worlds there. The automatics still get the 315s though, and then the performance package still gets the 373s. So it's just the standard manual GTs, they get the 355s. Now, as far as the EcoBoost goes, that now has it's the same 310 horsepower, but it now has 350 pound-feet of torque instead of 320, I believe, or 330 that it had before. So a nice healthy bump in torque there. It doesn't quite match the Focus RS performance, even though it's the same motor, although it does have some different turbos and internals and things like that. But yeah, 350 pound-feet of torque, still a nice little boost there for the EcoBoost. And the EcoBoost particularly looks better when you account for the pricing of the new models. So the EcoBoost is actually cheaper than the 2017 model for 2018. It's $610 cheaper to be exact. So it's only about $500 more than the old V6 version, which is now killed off. There is no V6. That was confirmed a while ago for 2018. Only EcoBoost and GT now. But anyway, so the final starting price here for the EcoBoost is $26,485, which again is really, really good. So as far as the EcoBoost goes, that is definitely the value one out of the pack. But that's about where the praise ends, in my opinion, at least, as far as the pricing. They really raised pricing on the GTs a good bit. And even a lot of the EcoBoost options are more expensive than they used to be. So you can price out some EcoBoost to be pretty pricey as well. But the GT is the one that gets hit the hardest. So GTs, all of them have a $1,900 increase, $1,900 more than last year, which is pretty high for a refresh, but okay, fine. It's got the new engine, it's all reworked and all that kind of stuff, and so, okay, fine. You know, that's whatever. A little on the high side, but not the end of the world. The really bizarre thing, though, I'll get to in a minute. But anyway, so the new starting price for a base GT Mustang with the manual is $35,995. So, basically 36 grand. If you want a convertible, by the way, for either EcoBoost or GT, it's an extra $5,500 for that. That's kind of the standard upcharge there for that. So, like I said, a lot of the options are more expensive than they were last year. The automatic now is the all-new 10-speed, which is much better than the old 6-speed automatic that these had. So that is worth the additional price on, but that's $1,600 now versus, I think, the old automatic, which was $1,000 or so, maybe a little under that, $895 or something, possibly. So it's a lot more expensive there for the 10-speed, but that's a huge improvement, so that's well worth it. I'm not complaining about that being a little more expensive. But they really, the way they decided to do the packaging for the 2018s with the different packages and stuff, really is, I think, again, it depends on personal preference. Depending on what you want in the packages, it could end up that you make out on the deal. Other people like myself, you pay more money for less options than a comparable 2017. So the first big thing is the performance package, which used to be $3,000 on the 2017 performance pack GTs, and that had even gone up. I think it originally started on the 2015s like $1,500, and every single year got more and more expensive. Now the performance pack for 2018 went up an extra $1,000. It's now $4,000 for this performance package, which really makes it seem like not that great of a deal anymore. For a while there, it was a killer deal. Now it's like, if you actually did all this stuff yourself, and why pay all this money whenever you're going to be swapping out into lowering springs most likely anyway, like most people doing all this kind of stuff. It's like, how much of a value proposition is the performance pack these days? So it's an extra $1,000. They didn't give any reason why, because it's basically all the same equipment you got before. The only big upgrade for the performance package is you do get the new Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires or whatever now, which is probably more expensive than the tires they had on there before, which were the Pirellis, were kind of sketchy. So that's a good upgrade. Again, is that an extra $1,000 for slightly better tires? I don't think so. I mean, there could be other stuff to explain that, but it wasn't seen here, at least, in the build and price or, any kind of justification given. And the kicker is, on top of being $4,000, you cannot get the MagneRide unless, the magnetic dampers, unless you have the performance package. And then, to get the magnetic dampers, they're an extra $1,700 on top of that. So, if you want a MagneRide performance package GT, the whole package is $5,700. So, on a premium Mustang GT, which actually ends up starting around $39,000, with just this package and a couple other options, you're easily into the 50s on just a normal Mustang GT, which it's getting a little pricey, if I'm honest. Now, so there's other caveats as well. So you'd say, oh, well, I don't need the premium. I'll just go for the, $36,000 base Mustang GT, and then, add those on, and then you are just barely over 40 grand. Not so bad, right? Wrong. So in order to get the MagneRide, I guess it's because it has switches. It needs those toggle switches you only get on the premium model. There's a new trim for the base model Mustangs now called a 301A package, and that gives you a lot of the same features from the premium. You get the bigger Sync 3 screen, the toggle switches, you get the ambient lighting, a few other things there. You don't get the leather seats. It's still cloth seats, no heated or cooling or anything like that. But that 301A package is $2,000, and that's required in order to get the magnetic dampers. So if you want a performance package base model GT with the magnetic dampers that's still cloth seats, like still fairly bare bones, you're still spending 44 grand for a car with cloth seats. I mean, again, people that buy Mustangs, lots of them don't care that much about the interior. Fine, whatever. It is nice to have that 301A package, so now you're not stuck with a little infotainment screen from a 90s Mercedes in the base Mustangs, because that's what they still do give you for 2018 here, by the way. If you don't get that 301A package, you get that tiny little screen, which is just, I don't know how they think that's acceptable in the year 2018, but I digress. So, but that's the way that whole package is set up, so it's kind of nice. You at least can upgrade your infotainment and still keep the cloth seats. So they did give you a little bit more customization there as far as that goes. But for those of you that are despairing about these higher prices, I do have some good news for you, and that is that it sounds like, according to some of the press releases and stuff, that the standard 2018 Mustangs GT suspension gets a lot of the same suspension components as the 2017 Performance Pack. So I think what they're kind of doing is the new performance package is $4,000 is actually a more track-oriented performance package than it has been in the past years, and the all 2018 Mustangs get a much sportier, stiffer suspension than before, which is bad news if you want a soft, floaty Mustang like I kind of do. But if you do want that sportier, ride and whatnot, it sounds like all 2018 Mustangs are going to be stiffer anyway than the 2015 to 17s. So honestly, I mean, I've driven like a lot of the GM vehicles with the magnetic ride control and even some other German vehicles with it, and it's nice. It does make a little bit of a difference sometimes Although I think in the Camaro and stuff, I remember being like, I can't even tell a difference if it's on or off. Like if you're hitting the switch and in normal street driving at sane speeds, most people, if they're honest with themselves with their street driving, probably won't be able to reap the full benefits of MagneRide. Now, if you are a track rat and you're constantly autocrossing or doing track days and you want the Brembos and all that that also come with a performance package, then okay, I can see it making sense. But for those that just want a fun daily driver, it sounds like the performance package probably is a little overkill now. And so if you don't have to have magnetic ride control and you don't have to have the performance package, save yourself the $5,700 and, then you can still have a very reasonably equipped, low $40,000 Mustang, high 30,000s, depending on, what options you want. Other stuff as far as the performance package goes, it's now available on the convertible. You can get it on convertibles if you want, and it's obviously, of course, now available with the automatic since it's the fast 10 speed. So that is something nice because before it was performance pack, which was only coupe, manual only, and that's it. So nice to have those additional options. Now, getting back to the packaging, though, this is where, depending on what you want, it can either work in your favor or actually be something that works against you. So the 401A package has been completely redone as well here for 2018s. So it used to have the memory seats, the Shaker Pro audio system, and then the blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic detection, which was a really great package. I have it on my GT here and the previous GT. I insisted on it. I loved it. I had the 201A package on the EcoBoost, which was the same package in 2015. That was great as well. I love that package. It's just really all the equipment I wanted personally. Again, not everyone wants the same thing as me, so that's understandable. But now for 2018, the 401A package is the only way you can get those digital gauges, by the way. You can only get them in EcoBoost's 201A. The only way you can get those digital gauges is with this package, which is $2,200. So this is how you can see how these GTs are getting into the 50,000 range. If you do all the performance goodies, you want the digital gauge, all that kind of stuff, boom, you're at 50 grand. So it gets expensive quick. They could have just made it a standalone option, but they decided to put it in this big expensive package. So they knew everyone wanted those digital gauges. So to bundle it with a bunch of other stuff that people usually don't order, you get the Premier trim, which is nice. I've had it here for the first time in the new GT I just got. It is nice to have the Premier trim, but that's also in the 401A package. You get Sync Connect, which gives you built-in Wi-Fi. I don't know what Mustang owners really care about that, but maybe I'm mistaken. And then it also gives you nav, which I'm pretty sure almost no one cares about these days since everyone uses their phone, and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard now. So again, they bundle all this stuff and make it seem like a great value. And if you do in fact want all those things, it is a great value. But for most, you're paying $2,200 for digital gauges and a bunch of stuff you don't care about, which is kind of unfortunate. Again, I think they know the appeal of those digital gauges and they make you pay for them and they want to cash in. That's their prerogative, but that's a little unfortunate, and I'm sure that'll annoy a lot of people when they find that out. So for someone like myself, that if you want the blind spot monitoring, which is a very nice modern feature to have, the rear cross traffic detection is really handy, especially if you're pulling out of a spot where you have people parked on both sides of you and you can't see, behind you out to see if people are crossing in busy mall intersections and, things like that, aisles of shopping areas. And so it's nice because it'll go off so someone doesn't sideswipe you that's not paying attention. And that is now part of this whole big package called the Safe and Sound package. And so this package, it's got, in addition to the blind spot monitoring and the memory seats, those two things are in that. It also has the adaptive cruise control, lane keep alert, auto braking, the autonomous braking, pedestrian detection, the warning, and all those lights that go off every time you get a little too close to a car. And it also has rain sensing wipers. So if you want your Mustang to brake for you because you love, not paying attention while driving, and if you need lane keep assist because you have trouble keeping a car in a lane, then yes, you can get the blind spot monitoring and stuff, which is really just, like I said, it annoys me because the blind spot monitoring is genuinely nice. It's an extra feature and it's nice, with the rear cross traffic detection. Those two things are good, useful things that I don't think are for bad drivers. It just makes driving a little easier. Whereas the lane keep assist and that kind of stuff, it's really for, like I said, it only goes off if you are not driving well, but it's like, it's still just annoying. The press cars that I've had that have all that autonomous tech, it goes off way too prematurely, and it's usually really overprotective and annoying. And you can turn the sensitivity down or turn it off, but that's another package that's thousands of dollars for a bunch of stuff that most people probably don't want. But I know a lot of people do enjoy blind spot monitoring. It's a nice thing to have, and it's unfortunate now you have to have all the nannies that go along with it. Thankfully, one good thing as far as packaging goes is the Shaker Pro audio system is now finally a standalone option. So if you just want a good sound system in your Mustang, then you can just get that on its own. I think it's pretty reasonable as well, like 800, 900 bucks or something, and that's good. Another package that I touched on a couple of weeks ago is the Carbon Sport Interior package, which is now like a $1,200 option you can get. It's a new thing. It gives you the Alcantara seat inserts from the Shelby GT350, carbon fiber dash panels there, and a carbon fiber shift knob, and maybe one or two other little things, but that's the gist of it there. So that's a cool thing to have as well. But that's basically it as far as, all the pricing here on. Like I said, it's just depending on how you option it. I mean, you can go on the build and price site. I'll have the link in the description below. You can price one out for yourself and see, if with your build it would be more expensive than a 17, which you can still access the 17 build site as well and compare for yourself and see, how it works out for you. But for my build, if I were to do one without the performance package, without the magnetic ride dampers and stuff, mine comes out to about 43 grand. And here's what mine would do. That Orange Fury I really enjoy. So if I were to build a 2018 Mustang and I wasn't hung up and obsessed with Bullet like I am, that'd probably be the build I would do. The black package and make it the Halloween special almost with the orange and black. And the active exhaust, by the way, is something I forgot to mention, but that's also very cool and a standalone option as well. It's only like $895, so very reasonably priced there, and it's great that they have that, as a standalone option as well. So I would just do the active exhaust, the black pack, and the shaker sound system, and it still would be about 3 grand more expensive than the 2016 sticker price of the one in my garage here, and I still don't have the blind spot monitoring or the memory seats. So 3 grand more money. I get an active exhaust, but I lose the blind spot monitoring and memory seats. That's kind of how it shakes out. So just, a little more expensive, but you do get better performance. It's going to be faster and be better performing in every way, I'm sure. That's the way progress goes, I suppose. Things get more expensive as the high-tech stuff continues to come in more and more. That stuff's not cheap. But yeah, so that's it. That's the entire overview here on the 2018 Mustang stuff. Let me know all your thoughts about the 2018 Mustangs, pricing and packaging and performance in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.